The next session of Emerge is open for registration, October 29th through December 22nd. If you are interested in investigating the layers of self, but doing so in community, this is a very potent, intensive, compassionate investigation. And it's my favorite offering. Take a peek.
Andrea Gibson, the incredible poet, has quite a way with words, and some of those words are that every wall you erect to keep out pain will keep out possibility. Every wall you erect to keep out pain will keep out possibility. It is so natural that we protect ourselves. We are wired to do it. It's a survival mechanism. And we're here because we've had, ancestors that have well protected themselves in order to, trickle down this line. So it's natural, it's needed, and it can cause a lot of strife. And if we can become more aware of the ways in which we protect ourselves, then we can continually discern whether we still need that protection or not. Because often what we're protecting from is perceived threat due to past traumas, due to past experiences, due to confusion, worry, things that have been passed on to us. But often it's perceived threat and not actual threat. So how much of our lives are we guarding against something that we're actually creating in our mind? I would say that that's often the case. Not always, absolutely not. And something that was a threat once will not always be. So it's the fluidity of truth, fluidity of threat, fluidity of what is real, what is needed, what is necessary, which requires us to continually be recalibrating, continually be checking in with what is real, what is here, what is needed, and what is just a throwback. What gives us space, what makes us feel more free, and then what makes us feel constrained. If the things that we erect, they do protect us, but they also stop us from possibility, then that is something to weigh. This quote also reminds me of just the idea that how we can't selectively numb emotion, that whenever we decide that we don't want to feel our anger, or I am not going to feel that grief, we protect against it. We have parts of ourselves that come in and protect against it. But we numb all the emotions because you can't selectively numb. So it's the same idea that we erect a wall, we erect protection. And while it does stop something, it solves something, it may be creating other challenges. So maybe something comes to you, some way in which you've done this. And there's a zillion different ways in which we protect ourselves. And often they seem to the outside eye like that's not protection at all. Think substance use, which is a method of self-protection. Keeping us from feeling things we don't want to feel, or supporting us to feel different ways, changing the moment so that it can be something else, something that feels more doable, feels more accessible to us. So while in one aspect it's a solution, in another aspect it is absolutely not supportive. So in my philosophy around recovery, and my philosophy around, why I've created Emerge and Wisdom of the Shadow, it's really about allowing all aspects of self, allowing all of our emotions to arise and to be seen and heard, especially the ones which we've ostracized. So in Wisdom of the Shadow, we're really bringing up the 4 portals that we looked at, emotional portals that we looked at, were anger and envy and grief and shame. And all of these emotions are typically often ones that we do not want to feel and we protect against. And the ways in which we protect them have repercussions. When our emotions are all here in service of us. They're all, again, natural, necessary, all here in service. But when we squander and when we ostracize and block them away, we have severed part of ourselves. So the invitation and the inquiry is to not change what's there so it feels more palatable, but to meet what's there as it is. Not needing to make the dark light, not needing to, change it into a more acceptable emotion or whatever. It's to meet it as it is. To learn how to get a little night vision and to go into the dark and find the parts of ourselves which we have severed. Because in that severing, we cause suffering for ourselves. In the attempt to protect ourselves, often we create more pain. And the same thing that we're doing in recovery as well. And this is my same philosophy in recovery, that there has been parts of our life that has been painful and we have sought a solution because we have this internal family inside of us. We have all these different parts inside of us. Have you ever heard like, part of me feels like this and part of me feels like this? We use this language a lot. Part of me is, this way and part of me is this way. Well, we have all these different parts inside of us. And they're all in service in some way, even though they don't act like it often. But we have the pain arise in our life, and they seek to find ways to support. And like I mentioned before, for a long time, drugs and alcohol is a freaking great solution because it definitely works to change the way we feel. But the repercussion of that is very, very deep. So to be able to become intimate and to become more aware of where we have, what parts we have pushed to the side, what parts we have put in the dark, and allow them to be seen and heard and appreciated in their value is quite a radical notion. And again, it's not about healing them or changing them. It's about becoming whole. I think it's Jung who says, whenever I am asked to choose, and oftentimes I am, I say that I would rather be whole than good. That's probably not exactly how he said it, but I think that's the gist of it. I would rather be whole than good. Which is saying that I don't need to be good vibes only. I would rather be my whole self. And I, for one, absolutely know that I have most of my life not wanted to be my whole self because I didn't want to show a lot of myself to the world. I wanted to show the party girl. I wanted to show the fun one. I wanted to show the this. I wanted to show the that. And how painful it is to essentially be telling half of ourselves that we are not worthy. You are not worthy. So often we have the story of unworthiness, and often it feels like it comes from the outside, but we're doing it to ourselves as well. And maybe it started from messages we got from the outside, but we perpetuate that attack internally. And whenever we are, imagine like some of the deepest traumas that happen are whenever people who are supposed to love us hurt us. People who are close to us hurt us. And this is one of the most intimate relationships that we have whenever we perpetuate that pain internally. And it goes deep. So the recovery journey, whether it's substance or whether it's the way in which we have relation with ourselves, the way in which we, there's just so many different ways in which we're human. But it's a movement towards wholeness. Is recovery, is movement towards wholeness. Because we do have all the pieces. They all are there. They're just not all welcome. Sometimes we don't even know, don't even realize what hasn't been allowed. Often it's running underneath the subconscious. And it takes a lot of kind of peeling the onion and being curious and being really freaking kind, woven with the curiosity. Because often what happens is we start to find things out about ourselves, and it's really hard to look at. And what's really good information isn't always good news. And what I mean by that is that we might be like, oh, damn, I didn't want to see that. And it's also good information. It's both and. So what's not always good news is always good information. And so it's a slow compiling of a present truth of what we are now, not only the stories in which we've told about ourselves or the stories that have been told about us. It's refamiliarizing ourselves with ourselves. It is revisiting the past, but it's also pulling that into the present. And then weaving both of those into the future. It's a total hassle, recovery. It's a lot of work. Ignorance really is bliss in some ways until it's hell. And while it is a hassle, it is absolutely worth the work. This work of wholeness, this recovering wholeness. Not building it or creating it, but it is rediscovering it, maybe sometimes for the first time. Gathering emotional literacy and being able to feel what we feel when we feel it, and to engage on the spot rather than reflexively saying you belong and you don't. And it is being really curious and really kind as we do it. And the effects are not only here, it is undeniably rippled out to everyone around us. It is powerful, powerful work. So that's my little spiel today and my encouragement towards not only self-inquiry, but collective inquiry, because we do not heal in isolation. We get free together. We have to be seen in reflection. We see pieces of ourselves in others. We hear our stories out of other people's mouths, and it blows us away because we thought we were the only one. That's the power of kin, the power of community, and we are meant to be in that, and we're so often not. You know, we often, like I mentioned, having a story of unworthiness, we so often, most all of us have some story of not belonging as well. And because one of our greatest human qualities, we're not the strongest, we're not the smartest, we're not the fastest, it's that we can cooperate, it's that we can work together, that we can bond. And if that's one of our necessary survival mechanisms, then it's only natural that it's also our greatest fear is that we don't. If our greatest need is to connect, our greatest fear is that we don't. So to come back into connection, not only internally, to belong to ourselves, and then to belong to each other, to belong to the earth. That's a whole other tangent of how we've separated ourselves from that. But that this belonging is a practice. And it's a skill, it's not just a feeling. That it's something that we work on being in community, we work on being in dynamics. And that is a very primal need for us. So these these groups that I run in different aspects, especially the recovery groups, Emerge, Wisdom of the Shadow, to be able to come together and to like, you too. Wow. I am blown away by hearing stories and then watching other people's eyes be like, and I know what's happening. It's like, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one. And I cannot tell you how that feels. It's like chiseling off. I can see people like ensconced in cement, and when they're hearing their story come out of somebody else's mouth, it's like that cement is being chiseled off and they're being allowed to belong. They're being allowed to show up and to let some of that armor, some of that protection down, so that more things can be felt, so that more wholeness is available. It's shifting. Goosebumps. Anyhow, the encouragement is find community, find kin, find support. Don't do this alone. You're not alone. So, offering as well, I have a really beautiful resource sheet on emergerecovery.com. It has books that have been supportive of me. It has lots of podcasts. It has online recovery meetings as well. Lots of resources there. I also run Emerge Recovery is an 8-week deep dive program. We meet 3 to 4 times live a week. It is online. And we go in, we descent. We go in and we explore at the borders and the edges, and we do it together. And it is so powerful. It is so powerful. A dream of mine to create this. I never, ever thought I'd have anything to say to anyone of benefit around the human experience, and really feeling like I did not belong in an outlier, even in the recovery, as I was, working on my beginning of my recovery journey. And I created this because I felt alone in it. And I wanted to remember that we're not alone. So I built this hoping that it gathered the people who, especially for the people who felt like they were, the outlier. And then also Wisdom of the Shadow is a shorter exploration where we explore, it's the emotional literacy for the dark side of our emotional world. So both of those will be coming up. I run them, Wisdom of the Shadow is new, Emerge I run every year, but I'll be running Wisdom of the Shadow as well every year, maybe twice a year. So check out the dates. They'll be ran later this year. I don't know exactly when this is coming out, so I won't tell you dates. But yeah, would love to have you with us. It's so powerful to help co-create these communities. And we offer partial scholarships for all of them. So if finance is an issue, then please reach out. We have scholarship forms, and we try to meet you where you are. I just have full faith in this slow rediscovery journey. Yeah, this recalibration of the relationship with ourselves, with all parts of self. I just feel like cheering, like, yes, yes, yes. Anyway, that's all I got. That's all I got. I hope that you found something to benefit in here. And yeah, check out the links below. And I would love to see you, love to explore with you. So thank you.